It's spring. Thank goodness. Thank Goddess. We are here with shamanic energy medicine healer Amy, Mermaid, Isakov to welcome spring. And let us welcome her. Oh my goodness, how do I turn this around? I'm going to have to do it this way. It's not letting me do it. There we go. Okay. Amy, thank you so much for welcoming us into your yurt.
Oh, it is so my pleasure. Thank you for being here and thank you for adapting to the unexpected camera circumstances.
There we go. You never know what's going to happen.
That's right. And that spring is full of new beginnings and we don't know what they're going to be yet.
Yes, absolutely. So for people who don't know, tell us what shamanic medicine is.
Yes. So thing to remember is that this word shaman or shamanic is a word that comes to us from Siberia and has come to mean sort of any practice that connects us to the natural living world, anybody who works in these realms. And let's say the universal understanding of what that is that everything is alive. Everything is conscious and everything is connected. And so that's the operating principle of all shamanic medicine.
Yeah, so you told me some of it's based on folk traditions. Can you talk about some of those folk traditions?
Yeah, so I practice something called the Pachacudi Mesa tradition, which is a cross-cultural Peruvian-based shamanic tradition that is sourced from folk medicines that trace their roots thousands of years into the Andes. And everything that I have learned in terms of how to make offerings, ways to honor the spring, ways to honor the cycles that we go through, just to name a little bit, comes from these tradition, from these medicine people who kept these ways alive for thousands of years.
And you've studied, I mean, this is like a ton of work goes into becoming a shamanic healer.
Yes, I have studied, and I've studied with lots of different teachers, not just the Pachacudi Mesa tradition. And everyone brings something unique and important and relevant. And I've been doing this for coming on 20 years.
Yeah, and we want to say that you and Lance Isakov are with Village Wellness. That is the place, the healing center, and the community that you have created. And I know that during the pandemic, it's just been essential for everybody who's connected to reconnect in whatever way we can to the earth. As spring comes, we need rebirth, we need reconnection. So what are some ways that in your practice you connect people to the earth?
Sure. Well, first I have to say that I think that a secret agenda of the COVID virus itself was to get humans outside again.
You know, it's so funny you say that because I was thinking this weekend, like every second I could be outside, I wanted to be outside, and now I appreciate it.
Yes, I mean, now that the weather is lightening, we're experiencing the march towards the longer days. The equinox is that perfect balance.
Yeah.
And now the days are just going to grow and stretch, and the light is going to grow and the darkness is ebbing, and so it's easier to be outside. But it's becoming a safe place for us to gather again, which is so important. And there are so many ways to honor the equinox.
Yeah.
And anybody who went outside and just paused and looked around and said, oh, this is the equinox. Today is perfect balance.
Yeah.
That's actually incredibly powerful.
Yeah.
Just the simple act of acknowledging, because we're on this living Mother Earth.
Yeah.
And in her dance around the sun, she is in perfect balance. And when she is in perfect balance between the dark and the light, we have more access to that.
Yeah.
And so by just pausing and going, this is that day, we allow for that balance, that resonance to awaken in us. Because we are, even though we're so programmed by computers these days, we have a lot longer programming with the rhythms of the earth, with the circadian rhythms, with the precession of the equinoxes. We're hardwired for that.
Yeah. So are there some things we can do, any like little rituals that we can use in our own lives? You actually said when we were speaking earlier that a shaman, some people think a shaman is one person in a tribe. who leads these sorts of ceremonies and this sorts of thing, but that we all need to be shaman now in our own lives and our own tribes.
Yes, absolutely. So, what I was speaking about is that in traditional cultures and more tribal dynamics, there would be one person that would be the shaman or the medicine man or the medicine woman that was their role.
Yeah.
Was to be the intermediary between the seen and unseen, to tend to the sick, to tend to the healthy, make sure that everything is good. And if there's something coming through from spirit, it's their job to, be the messenger both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And that made a lot of sense during those times. But we're moving into a world, and the world has progressed so far away from that.
Yeah.
That most people think that the world is dead, this inanimate object that is there for us to use.
Yeah.
Which is absurd and a little obscene.
Yeah. Well, you said to me that if people treated Earth like she was alive, or if people thought of Earth as if she was a person, we would never treat her the way that we do.
Yes, if we recognized that she was a living being, we would never perpetrate the atrocities that we do, because we recognize that this is our mother.
Yeah.
And all of our mothers, nobody left out.
Yeah.
And we need to listen to her.
Yeah.
And I really feel that the only way that we can do that is by each individual person, as many people who are willing, to start building their relationship with her again, to start building your relationship with the plants and the trees and the sun and the rain and yourself.
Yeah.
Who are you deep inside, and really cultivate that relationship. And one of the most powerful ways to do that, besides just, getting outside, is to make an offering.
Okay.
And I have some incense going here.
Yes. And we should say we are in your magical space. This is a yurt that we have here.
Yes, our magical yurt that we are so in love with, that we built in order to be able to safely gather people together, sort of an inside-outside place. We have enough room that we can be safely distant from each other, but still experience a sense of intimacy, because when we go through hard things, we need each other.
We do. We have learned. And you are leading sessions, and you are leading workshops. You have a lot coming up in the spring. Tell us about some of the things that you have.
Yes, well, I have an apprenticeship. I offer a shamanic apprenticeship. It's a year-long, in-depth shamanic apprenticeship in the Pachacuti Mesa tradition. So you learn how to build an altar, you learn how to build your relationship with unseen realms, with animal allies, with teachers, and you also learn how to, there's simple offerings, like you can offer a pinch of tobacco, a bit of your hair, just making manifest your love, your gift, something that you're bringing forth. But we can also really dig into the science of that, and really dig into the many levels of what are we offering to whom, how are we engaging, and so we get very deep into the ritual work.
Yeah.
Also the healing work, and that's coming up in April.
And you are sold out on that, right? Almost sold out?
Right on the edge. I have a couple of people who are, hey, I think it might be for me. And, I trust the lineage. It's a powerful process.
Yeah.
One of my meditation teachers, he said, enlightenment is nothing short of total destruction.
Nice.
And arguably the shamanic path is similar. And Pachacuti means world reversal, or great upheaval. And so,
because it reverses your thinking on things?
Well, it makes you till your own soil and expand your mind. And if you develop, a relationship with a spirit animal, you have to take responsibility for that. And you have to take responsibility for yourself. Mm-hmm. And all of your allies. And when we take responsibility for ourselves, amazing, beautiful things can happen. That can be a big ask for people. Yeah.
So all the programs and offerings all the teachings you have, people can find at Village Wellness.
Yes.
Everything's
listed there, and if people, so villagewellness.net, and if people want to know more about the Pachacuti Mesa tradition, PMT, you can go to the Heart of the Healer.
Yep. And villagewellness.net, also just yoga and meditation and acupuncture, all of the holistic health practices that people especially need right now
Yes.
are at villagewellness.net. So you were going to tell us about some of the objects that you have behind you.
Yeah, and also since we're talking about Village Wellness, I also just want to mention that Lance is, he's leading a cleanse, which is very much a springtime energy. It's a good time for clearing out, for letting go. You know, we've been in so much darkness, not only in winter, but also in this past year.
Yeah.
And so it's an amazing time and space to contemplate all of that darkness, gather it up, and turn it into compost.
Yeah.
So that it can be fertile ground for you to grow
Yes.
forth in the spring. And, you know, yeah, I mean, I have a whole world behind me. This is, you know, I don't know how well you guys can see this at home. This is my mesa, my altar ground. And there's so many realms. You guys are going to have to come.
Do you want to tell us about
and,
a few objects?
Well, let's see if there's one that wants to come forward. Here, anybody want to come talk about spring? Yeah, of course, of course. Well, oh, they really actually like being together. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit.
Do you want me to come over there?
You can come over here, sure. Why not?
Sure.
So I think that one of the really beautiful things about an altar that is based on balance and relationship is that it is a reflection and a reminder for us to live in balance and live in relationship. And so all of the pieces here that, you know, you can see some of, they're all living in relationship together. And let me just, you know, one of the things that makes this different than some this is, you know, originates in, it's a South American tradition.
Wow.
And in North America, everything is, all of the directions are usually based on the earth. So we're oriented towards sunrise and sunset and so forth. What we have here is actually a cosmic orientation.
Wow. That is so cool.
And we have, you know, the earth in the south, the moon in the west, great mystery in the north, the sun, our local star, in the east, and in the center is the domain of soul.
Wow.
And this soul animated universe that we all live in is what is fed and nourished every time you make a little offering, anytime you just stop and pause and recognize that you are part of something bigger. Your soul gets a little bit brighter.
Nice. So we are around these sacred objects in this sacred ancient ritual, but there is something very modern that a lot of people are doing, and that is the vaccine.
Yes.
And so you had a way, a lot of people are nervous about it, about taking it for various reasons. Essentially, my nervousness is that I'm totally for vaccines. I totally understand it. What I've heard people say is, it's tough to bring something like COVID into their bodies. So what is your thinking on the vaccine? You had a different way that we could think about it.
Yeah, so, you know, there's a few different types of vaccines. Not all of them are actually putting the virus in. Some of them are. But regardless of what type of vaccine you're getting, it is still part of the natural world. Yeah. It is still part of this indivisible whole that we call life. So therefore it has a consciousness. And so as a shamanic practitioner or an aspiring shamanic practitioner, somebody wants to bring these things into your life, you can talk to it. You can talk to the vaccine. Talk to the vaccine. So if you go to get your appointment, your visit, you know, just ask them, you know, take a moment, and you can do this in your heart mind. You can do this aloud, and just ask it, you know, for whatever you need, you know. Please be gentle on my body. Please protect me fully. Please bring only your healing and none of the other concerns that I have. If there's any harm that you might bring, please don't let that activate in my body. I ask you for only your healing.
Yeah.
And that's a way to, you know, shamanize your vaccine experience.
Shamanize your vaccine. And the other thing is that the vaccine, and I know that Lance feels this way, will allow people to be around each other again. And that's been a struggle, and it's been a big mental health struggle since since the pandemic.
Yes, a huge mental health struggle. And there are also people who have been safely gathering without the vaccine, taking a lot of precautions, making sure you quarantine, that you follow all of the guidelines, that you wear your mask and wash your hands. And then I've been so grateful that I've been able to have small gatherings where we have distance. I've had them all, about 6 times over the past year, and nobody has gotten sick because we can take responsibility for our lives.
Right.
And so I hope that, between the vaccine and people taking responsibility for themselves and creating a more beautiful world, that we're going to be able to be fearlessly back together, packing this room with bodies, really soon. That's my prayer and my hope.
Yes. Well, that sounds like a great prayer for spring, for the rest of 2021. I want to thank you for welcoming all of us into your magical yurt, just so you can all spin around and see how amazing this is. And here I am. So thank you all so much for joining us. Again, you can go to villagewellness.net to find out all about these incredible things. We'll see you again soon. Have a great night.